Hi, folks. Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Well, remember, the Historical Fencing Guild is a proud member of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, built around the brilliance of Brian K. Morris, whom you can find every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Nevermind the Furthermore, and all these great folks. Yes, I realize my sign is breaking. I am looking to improve my high-tech displays later. The Historical Fencing Guild is also brought to you by, thank God, my drink has a lid, or else I would have just killed my computer, and the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, because I believe martial arts are for everyone, and if you want to learn, this is the place to go, folks. Now, I'm also supported by the wonderful folks at Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the RPG, the Quick Play Edition. Due to popular demand, there is actually, starting Monday, guys, this is something new for you, a re-release, a custom short-run 30-day opportunity through Kickstarter to support it. We had people coming to us asking, they weren't comfortable with Indiegogo as a platform, but they wanted to support us. So Luke and I have put together something very special for Kickstarter only. And look, I'll have more news about that coming up later. All right. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Doesn't look like we have anybody chatting right now. That is okay. We got 2 people watching, and that's wonderful. Folks, before we go too far into it, tonight's going to be a little clever. I've actually been incredibly ill for the last 7 days, and I nearly had to call this video, but you guys know me. I am dedicated to service. Why is my chat only showing top chat? I want all the chat. Whoop. There we are. Hello. I'm sorry we had a bit of technical difficulty, but I caught it early, so I didn't miss. We're joined, of course, by the amazing, talented author Cindy Kep. Wonderful hearing from you. Hit her up for her Animal Eye project. It is a wonderful comic. It is a game-lit adventure. Just really sharp stuff. And I might be talking more about that later on some of my other venues. And I'm starting to feel less puny. No. Hey, minor issue. The live chat didn't want to give me all my chats, Steve, but I'm glad to have you here too. And guys, remember, hit the like, hit the share. I'm fighting the algorithm real hard these days. There's been a crackdown on certain types of content, and I just come under the umbrella by the edges just enough to get some colorful content. But what do we have to talk about this week? Oh, Richie, wonderful. I'm glad to see you on the docket, and not quite frying it. I'm simply having arguments with my tech, which is nothing new. Everyone knows my tech hates me with an unbridled passion. Now, I've been following some things, and I want to make sure that it all comes up nicely, because I got some questions I want to walk through. The buckler video is still coming. I couldn't be more than a few feet away from the toilet and the trash can for the last 7 days. I went out for the first time in a year and a half, and eating, family meal, I managed to get food poisoning. And just of the epic, there was some debate whether I should go in and see the doctor. But you guys know me. I'm far too stubborn, and I plowed through. Right or wrong, we're doing okay. So we're building up. So pardon me if my energy level is a bit less than the usual part. Yeah. Wonderful. Fight choreography is something I've worked a little bit with, and fight choreography. One thing, if you're watching this video, please turn on the live chat, not the top chat. My computer decided to hop to the top chat for a while, but you want to see it, or else I will look absolutely schizophrenic. Richard Asplin says, and that's Richie, folks. If you've been around, you know him. If not, look back. Big guy, big Meyer fan. The new attorney that started today I had to train does fight choreography for theater. So we had a nice conversation about how we're trained to do the exact opposite to me and to him to miss. Yeah, it's really fight choreography is interesting. It's not usually my bailiwick. I've dabbled in it some. I was asked at one point to do it for a play, and that clashed. And I see it as a challenge because, like you said, teaching somebody to miss. But if you can teach somebody to fight with proper calibration, like we do, especially somebody like me and Trey, we can do dramatic things, and even if we miss, the impact is safe because of how we do it. The other thing is, if you're doing fight choreography nowadays, you can order much safer weaponry that looks really good. A lot of the latex foam plastidip style LARP weapons at theater ranges are indistinguishable from steel. They're really cool. And if somebody's interested in that and they want to talk more about the pros and cons, fight choreography versus what I consider practical instruction, please, I would love to weigh into it. Now, I do have some questions I want to go over, and I wrote the questions down, but like a Yetz, I forgot to write down who asked them. One was someone out there. They set me on a bit of a quest because they said, I want a Gladius version of a Nagamaki. I want something that matches. And I'm like, I've seen it. I've seen it somewhere not unreasonable. And it took a little bit, but I want to answer whoever that was. And I do apologize for forgetting. Between the fevers and dehydration, I'm not exactly, like I said, 100% of what's been going on this week. But using my high-tech picture-in-picture and our good friends at Bud K, I found it. I believe this is the weapon you've seen and are looking for. To the best of my knowledge, there is not a practical trainer of it yet, but it is of a length that the right commission or a homebrew should be fairly feasible. So if you see this, please let me know. Hobbits on Quest. Hey, we've been saving the whole MFing world since 1953. But that used to be my screensaver. It was a picture of Samwise Gamgee. Yeah, and Steve, it's less than $50. So I'm spending your money again. We're going to talk about a few things on Bud K that I actually screenshot, so I'm not dogging my internet whilst looking at it, because I get people and they ask me, Nick, what lifesteal do you want? And I'm going to tell you, I've been in this gig about 20 years. And I've seen a lot of good steel, and I've seen a lot of bad steel. And I've seen stuff that the Pakistanis wouldn't spit on. And I realized, for the most part, it's really rare for me to go gaga over a weapon. There are a few that I like, and largely what I want is based around that beloved Bilbao, but it's not available. So I have a select bit of things that look interesting to me. It's really rare, but I did actually find one. But before I get into that, there was talk of, is this? Yes. There was somebody looking for a short glaive. I don't know if it was the same person, but they were looking for essentially a Joe staff with a short sword on the end. And being me, I'm like, I think I saw that in the same place. So to the person who asked that, and again, I will write down names next time. This is what you were looking for, I think. Now, understand buying through Bud K can be hit or miss, but I've heard relatively good things about this company. I haven't bought one to review, of course, but that does exist. It's out there. So, and I do like that it comes with a sheath. Pole arms are starting to become more attractive again. I'm not sure if there's been a social movement I missed, but short pole arms are really becoming something I'm starting to hear nibbles and rumbles about. Perhaps it's as a practical home device, and I find that brilliant. I love the idea of a resurgence of simple quality tools and weaponry that can be used without having to resort to ballistic situations in places where a ballistic solution isn't practical. I lived in a trailer that had paper thin steel walls. I people ask me, well, why don't you have a gun? One, I couldn't secure it reasonably, and two, what am I going to do if I go through and through? It's going through the trailer and the next one and the next one, you know. So it was a small area. I resorted to assorted sharpened things that should surprise no one, axes and the like. But whatever you pick, make sure you can either train with it safely or you have a simulacrum, a sword simulating object that you can train with. Now, let me see if I remembered to get the picture. And I did. Yes, I did. Now, something else has come up, and actually it is wonderful that Richie's here because it's going to take a couple steps. Where is my tape measure? Did my tape measure walk again? My tape measure walks whenever I plan on using it. I know this. I'm not sure if it's the fairies or, you know, tired Nick. Oh, well. Basically, the folks at Honshu who made that katana... Oops. Okay. Do I need to apply pants? No. Like, hey, you're more than welcome. Thesis, you know I love you guys. Hi, Foxy. Anyway, they made the modern katana, which isn't got a disc grip. It's got a more traditional knife grip. And they have a trainer for it, and the trainer looks very interesting. But they are releasing what they're calling the Midnight Forge high carbon wakizashi. I know that word. I've written it in Japanese, but now it has a 20. I want to say a 21-inch or 23-inch blade, so it's relatively short, long enough to be a short sword, but short enough to be a not a full-size sword. So it is actually, if my math is right, it is about this long. And instead of having a traditional katana style hilt, it has a knurled sort of almost a Langsmesser style hilt. Why am I talking about that? Well, while the Honshu blades are not bad, they're middle of the road and not bad for people starting up. Hey, that happens. Great seeing you, Silver. But while they're not, that they're also good entry level for better than Pakistani crud swords. What interests me and why I'm watching this is this line tends to make match trainers. Now, Frog G, you guys, I got stuff. There are two superheroes in the universe that matter. If you're running around publishing or independent writing, you're going to see Cindy Kep as the world's greatest cheerleader. If you're running around independent comics and live streamers, you're going to see Frog G. I have both of them on my stream. This is just winning. This is just winning. It doesn't get better than that, folks. But getting back to that, they are making... They made this... I'm watching for them to make a trainer. Why? Not many people know this, but this is the summer of Drizzt for D&D fans. Now, my great love, of course, is swordplay, fencing, instructing people, and empowering them through the use of swords. We all know this. My second great love is all things RPG. And I am definitely of the generation who grew up with the Dark Elf trilogy is a very informative thing. Drizzt gets a lot of people into fighting and into dual wielding. Now, those two particular weapons, and I say two because I'm thinking one of the most clever things, if they make them and if they're smart, they'll release them soon, would be superb, potentially, to get your Drizzt on. Drizzt fights with dual scimitars. However, the definition of scimitar, according to the author and the viewers and the cover art, has changed quite a bit. So what it's turned into is almost a light cavalry saber with a minimalist guard kind of rig. It's very interesting, the permutations of their take from going a more dramatic falchion basically in the early things, Driz swords would have looked much like this. But as the stories evolved, as people's definitions of swords changed, right, wrong, or indifferent, they look in modern take much like these. So I am mentioning that because I happen to know that Richie's wife loves Driz Dorden and wants that. So I'm always looking for minimalist trainers of a relatively small size that can be wielded by someone of limited height and be effective. And I think if they're smart and they follow their pattern when they make them, those would work well. If not, something like this would actually work very well for her too, as well as any number of products via Purple Heart Armory. Yes, you could order through South Coast Swords. We got to talk, guys, on that one. And we're going to jump right into that because I have a lot of rants that while I am sick, awesome. Richie says I proposed to her with replicas of Twinkle and Icing Death. Exactly. And something like this would allow her to possibly spar and should be light enough to build mobility. If not, give me her measurement and we'll talk, and maybe we can set up an arrangement to get something even lighter for her made, or I could talk you through some suggestions to make something. Because you know me, I want everybody to have a chance to fight. But Brexit is kind of a big deal, and it affected things. And there's this thing called the VAT tax, or VAT, the VAT. I don't understand it really well, but I do understand that it dramatically has raised shipping, import and export around England. Shipping is going insane because of this. So it is even more sane and marketable to work with American weapons dealers, American trainer dealers. So I really want you guys to factor that in as we get out and as we get moving. It's getting to be that time. I am, as my contracts work allows and my health, planning to do some more reviews on my basket of reviews. Now, I was asked recently, Nick, you have Patreon? Yes, I do, and I am blessed by my patrons. You guys are why I can keep the lights on. But you haven't spent any money lately. What are you up to? And if there's one thing I can say about my fans, they are loyal, and boy, do you guys not miss a beat. The question was, what are you up to? I am saving up for a special necessity. What many of you don't know is when I first moved in, due to some miscommunication and the way stuff was stacked in my garage, there was a flood. And hello, Sharon. And that flood actually damaged several of the boxes of my gear. We're still trying to go through the mess. It's brutal on me because I am very allergic to mold. So in the process of that, a lot of my personal and not just my trainer gear, but the personal gear I kept was damaged. And there were some other problems. And I'm going through and seeing what can be salvaged. But I realized as I was doing it, a lot of that was improvised gear that I acquired on a less than college budget 20 years ago. A mix of homemade and improvised and, patched together pieces of motocross gear and sports equipment and stuff. And while I have to go through and save, obviously, what I can, I'm thinking after 20 years of teaching folks, it might be time for me to set up a proper version of my own gear, Because what would happen is I would save up. Every time I would save up and I'm going to get my own stuff. And what would happen is we get a newbie in and they'd be worse off one way or another than I am. And the blacklight sucker sign across my forehead would shine radiantly. And I go, you know what? They need new gear. Or there'd be a new trainer out that they want to test, but they're not sure how to handle it. So I'd just pick it up to see if it was any good. And then if I have something that matched somebody perfectly and they fell in love with the weapon, I had the dumb habit of, here, just keep it. Because that's who I am. But so I never really sat down and built my sort of master's gear. And it's kind of funny. If you rewind, you'll see things like my lovingly referred to obesity armor, which is a hoodie a thermal hoodie that I took the inner blank from a shield to make a primitive plastron, just the padding to go under a plastron. A few other things, but as the gears changed, it's about time. So what I'm looking at now, and what part of why I'm saving up, is actually to get the kind of gear after I redo the list field, which is currently one notch from needing to be bush hogged, that will keep me safe so that I can keep doing what I'm doing. And so I may have to lay a bit of money out for a change. And this is a great time to hear if that bothers people. I'd love to hear it, because I don't want anybody thinking I'm being untoward with what I get from my Patreon. I use that money to support what I do here. And the other thing is the market's been kind of still on trainers that interest me enough to throw a buck at them. They're good things. I did the most recent was the 1.33. And I do quite enjoy this trainer, but I do think it's a bit softer. I'm looking forward to fighting with it and seeing how this different HDP holds up. I expect it not to be quite as sturdy as the white, but I won't know till I get it going and we make it work. So that's part of what's going on. So yeah, I have to find something that's going to meet all my personal standards. And I think that's respectable. I think it's about time that I pay a little back towards me so I can keep doing what I'm doing, because with my sort of health changes, I have to be a little more careful. So that's what I'm doing now. And if somebody has a problem with that, please feel free to comment, DM me. If there's an order request, there's a product out there you really want to see, let me know. And I will certainly consider, if it's reasonable, just simply purchasing it and reviewing it, especially for my patrons. That's what I do. But one sec. I've got a message over here. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, somebody's good. Yes, I do run a page called Base Plus 2 Gaming. No, there is nothing on it yet. As I said, I have two great passions in my world, that I really work on. The sword arts and RPG and the art around it. Game design, art, stories, the craft of a good RPG. And that little page right now isn't anything other than holding space for things to come. But yes, feel free to like and follow it, because there is going to be some things coming relatively soon. I am not at liberty to discuss them. My other occupation is game design, and I'm working on 3 titles for sure, and I'm negotiating a 4th right now of different timelines. So I'm actually a very busy boy. So yes, and that pay gigs always come up over my own personal projects, but I am still working on the sword stuff too. Basically, as soon as I'm healthy again and I can not be on the toilet for any length of time, a lot more will come out. Wow, that sounded terrible. Now, what else do we have coming in? Did I see that little machete? Yes. Yes. I did see that little machete, and I am not going to lie. That rig actually kind of interested me. So I'm going to hold that up there. This is a live steel machete with a shoulder rig and holes for a thigh tie off. This looks very, very promising in the range of things I like. And 40, I'm sure I will. I won't. Oh dear Lord, is that Drist? Right now, your avatar is smaller than my pinky nail, but I absolutely love it. I am an old Dark Elf fan. I loved Dark Elf, the Dark Elf trilogy. I love most of the Drist books. I started to have trouble because my man, you see, I love the Drizzt books and I love Drizzt. And then I met Artemis and Tiri. And that to me is what a villain should be. Complex but powerful. A single human outdrowing the drow. I loved it. So, I dig it. I completely dig it, Ogre. Like I said, the thumbnail on my screen right now is about the size of my pinky, but I can recognize it from here. So that is awesome. Carl, I always have people named Ogre. And we discussed that last time. Let's talk rants. Okay, guys. I'm going to get going on this, and feel free to chime in if you're wrong and don't understand why. There's a picture going. Awesome. Awesome. Blood Thesis says Foxy and I got married on our favorite MMOPC game for her birthday. I love that. I absolutely love that. That's adorable. Now, some of you have seen it. It's been bandied around. I shared it in the public group. There is a chainsword. Somebody took a battery-powered, looks like a limb-cutting chainsaw rig, put a longer blade on it, and they put a really nice crossguard. Foxy, people, yeah, I don't judge people. I'm all about love. So, ceremonies are a personal thing. It's not outside the wedding. Okay. Why? Because it is cool. Now, I'm not showing the image because I don't own the copyright and I don't want any issue. I did share it through Facebook as that's where I saw it. A really neat T-handle crossguard, so battery-powered chainsaw. And I will say it was creative. However, guys, that is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen, and I'm going to tell you why. There are things I understand. I understand the mechanics. I know how they go. I know swords, and even though I don't necessarily like two-handers, Richie can it's cool in concept. It's cool, like, dude, a lot of people who think who are fixated on Warhammer are all about it. It's a neat concept until you understand how a chainsaw works. And no. Okay. There are things I have done. I have felled trees. I have bucked wood with chainsaws. Yes, looks cool is stupid. I understand these things. Chainsaws scare the living feces out of me because I understand how stupid they can get. Now, part of it is a chainsaw is designed to be a saw, okay? Yeah, I'm not even getting, just, we're starting with how wrong is this is a chain that is motorized and is spinning on a blade. That's how a chainsaw works. There's a gear. It goes right in a little track. This is a strange, fickle beast. They dull incredibly quickly on anything but what they're designed for, and they dull pretty fast on that. They overheat. A huge amount of friction is making a huge amount of heat, and that just chews through any lubrication in this device. Then you start getting weird things. The adjusters, because you have to be able to loosen it to change the blade. Therefore, there's an adjuster that can be adjusted. And they love to hop their tracks. And what is the easiest way? I asked to get a chainsaw to hop its tracks, to chop with the bloody thing. Oh, yeah. If it bites, all that force is going to whip it out of your hand, doing a tumble right across you. This is idiotic. I know this is a hot take, and I don't usually do hot takes here. Most of my rants are usually done in the privacy of my own home or occasionally on certain secret groups. But this is dangerously stupid and relatively easy to duplicate. The other thing is you want to see them bind up and get weird? Cloth, string, or rope. It binds up, it messes it up. Dear Lord, it's a bad idea. So please, as a swordsman, as a former, uh, part-time lumberjack and a few other things, don't there yes. Foxy says there's a don't, okay? Like I said, it does look cool in that crazy Mad Max video game logic. I will not deny that there is an insane aesthetic. I won't deny it because I can totally see it. But it's lunacy. And it's dangerous lunacy. So please, from the bottom of my black little heart, don't do it, folks. I think I found a weapon I hate more than floppy wushu steel. So, yeah, let's not do that. So, what else is on the docket? I told you about some of the swords coming out. I showed you the shoulder rig. Yes, let's hear what's in the comments. Oh, yeah, Richie says, a chainsaw sword is awesome for cleaning out the gene pool. Darwin Award to you. Feels like... Oh, I like that. Yeah, Richie's sharp. Richie is a bard. He just doesn't like to admit it. Oddly, I can chop wood faster than most people can chainsaw. Wow. Silver Ogre, you just took me on a mental journey. There was a time in my life, 20, 25 years ago, somewhere in that spread. That peak, you're 18, 20 something range. And I earned my first car splitting wood with a splitting maul. And I know what you're talking about. Depending on what you're trying to do in the right axe, I know it. But you took me back to a moment in my life where I lived like a Chevy truck commercial. And I'm going to tell you, there was some absolute beauty to it. And I'm not going to lie, I miss it. I know, I mean, yeah. The nerves in my arms and legs are dying. There's no way I could do something concussive and crazy like that. But I do remember when I could. Now, yeah, it depends on what you're trying to do. Now, if you're processing wood and you're doing a chainsaw right, they can be God's gift to that, especially if you've ever done a manual saw. But yeah, you got to respect the beasts and you got to treat them. You got to treat them with caution. Chainsaws are a force. Okay, so when I say I'm scared of them, I'm not dumb scared. I'm respectful scared because I understand what it can do if it goes wrong. I'm respectful scared of an axe. I understand them. When you understand them, you are like stupidity doesn't work. And I think there is a downside I find to when you study swordsmanship, that people will when you start to understand what's going on, what's cool starts to trickle off. One of the great things that I can point out is fantasy art. Especially there's a company called Kit Ray, Kitrae. And if they haven't been canceled, brother, they should be. Well, not should be, but will be. Let's put it that way. They made fantasy weapons, and they were big in, I want to say, the 80s, maybe earlier, with beautiful Boris Vallejo prints. But these weapons were all about the rule of cool. And they usually had spikes in odd places, were made of wall hanger grade technology, and were definitely more of a threat to the wielder than anyone else in the room. That's saying something, because some of those were pretty dicey. But that's the feel I get off of that. It's just not practical, folks. Yeah. The kit ray swords. Oh, yeah. Let me put it this way. A buddy of mine bought a specific dagger. It was a punch dagger. And it hung on this little scabbard thing, a little placard. And he's like, you gotta see that thing. And I picked it up. I reached over, I looked at it, released the latch, and picked it up. And I'm looking at this thing. And it looks, oh, God. How do I describe it? Like metal flames going out and curling down. And I realized if I twitched my wrist side to side at all, I'd be slicing up my forearms. And if I moved, I saw it. Yeah, I bet I know which one you're talking about. Now, see, I see this thing, and I'm like, and I don't like it. And he goes, why? And I'm looking at it for the longest time, like, because I have to think about how I'm going to set this thing down. It was rather scary. The other ones you see are the ones with like the demon heads with the spikes on the pommel. I'm going to give you a hint. Let's talk pommels for a second. Let's look at some pommels. Pommels. And no, we're not throwing them. I'm not Skullagrim. End them right. Use the sword as a sword. My old favorite sword. I love this thing. It needs treatment, but this has a basic sort of narrowed cylindrical pommel. It is ancient. Flat. In time, I have rested it many a time on my hip comfortably. And why am I going through for the fighting blades? Why am I not going live steel? Because, as the most part, I have fought with these. I know how the pommels can be. Big ball pommel. This thing's light. It floats. Well worn, well used. Again, if it gets set, little problem. I'm bouncing it on my leg. No problem. Most of the gear you see me use is of that. Even live steel. Then you see these spiky pommel things. You will gig yourself with that. First off, I give anyone what I call teenage amnesty. The stuff you bought because you thought it was cool, maybe you were a teenage edgelord, you can't be held accountable for. It happens to everybody. But if you study what you're doing, please, if it has a rattle, don't buy it. If it has sharp edges that could hurt you, don't buy it. Exactly, Syndicate. Pommel should be grabbable without killing yourself. That's one thing I really like about this. It's got this quasi-septagonal. I'm sorry, it's 9-sided if you count that line, but very unique pommel. But I can grab that and I can get the full. I can get a full rotation. Now, mind you, have small hands, and of course, you're seeing some grip limitations because I'm working around the braces. But I can grab that for strength. My favorite pommels. Oh my gosh. We've discussed it. I'll discuss it again. I got two right here. There's a sword around here that has it too. I'm not sure which one, but it's floating there. These style pommels. I love a bit of a flare, like a scent stopper pommel, because I can actually get a positive keyhole grip on the bottom of my little Sting replica. I could actually two-handed, hand and a half. God, anyway. A Sting replica, and we can make this go with those techniques if I am so inclined. That also means my hands aren't going to slide off. Silver Ogre wanted to get me to take my glasses off. Does that mean you'd agree that Kylo's lightsaber is more dangerous to Kylo than his opponents? Absolutely. Combined with this, that sword could be used. It could. It could even be used relatively safely. A lot of things about lightsabers bother me, especially knowing Beskar exists in the universe. I'm about to geek out here, so just bear with me. I have certain history with actually Sword Sage and others in Star Wars fandom. Shockingly, analysis of weaponry and fighting styles is a thing. You know, Type 2, that shouldn't surprise anybody. Well, it's a modified, but yeah. Me and Dooku for life. Make the sword be a sword. Anyhow. Makashi. Oh, it's been so long. But there is Beskar. It's expensive, but it exists. There is a steel that will stop lightsabers. Why? By all that is holy, unholy, neutral, and the snot in the great Bendu's nose, are they not fighting with the saber hilt? Well, if you fight two-handed, make it slightly larger. Put a guard on it. My God in heaven. A crossguard. You want just a crossguard? Fine. Put a Beskar steel crossguard on it. Actually use the sword like a sword. Well, it won't look like a nifty little flashlight hanging from my hip. Get over yourself, okay? You're all dressing around like desert nomads instead of wearing things that fit where you're going. Freaking sexless space wizards. Silver Ogre. I can say it, or I can look at your name. Beskar bracers or a shield, or I'll supplement and. They're walking around. You look at the Jedi now. Okay, let's. True, he did. Let's look at. I'm trying to get Thundar the Barbarian and get back on track. Dang it, Reggie! Let's look at what the Jedi wore in the Clone Wars. My boy Obi-Wan. Still, probably the best Jedi. Between him and Kanan. I got my boys. I understand this. Kanan understood the sword gun better, and I'm okay with that too. But I haven't... Ezra... I gotta see who he grows up into. I'm going to like him because I have faith in Dave. But anyway. They wore these arm bracer things. Body armor, no forearms, shoulders, and these arm and leg bracers. Why weren't they Beskar? And if, well, the Mandalorians had it all, why didn't they just take it? I'm sorry. Okay. No, we're not getting into the Mighty Ducks. No. But that would have made perfect sense if it was lightsaber resisted. For all the hands the freaking Jedi lose. You know, Obi-Wan had more arms than an octopus. You know, you ever wonder about his trophy room where he just kept all the dismembered arms? I do. It's kind of scary. Sorry. What we need to do is be sane. And why am I talking about this? Well, in the old, Richie says, in the old expanded universe, there were mirrored gloves that were lightsaber proof. In the old EU, there was a lot of really interesting things. I love that Palpatine was just trying to harden the galaxy for a threat bigger than anyone could imagine. It made the character somehow make a lot more sense than it just being a cliche mustache twisting power grab. It added depth and interest to the character and the whole concept of the Star War. Because my chat's crazy. I love my chat. My chat, I have the best chat online, folks. And this one I get to watch. The other show I'm on weekly anymore, I don't get to watch the chat because it's too distracting. But with you, friends, family, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. God, take it back. Anyway, the there was depth and flavor and angles, and that's kind of gone from the sanitized new trilogy. And I kind of miss it. I feel bad about the new trilogy because I actually like this Daisy Ridley as an individual. To see that she went from being a YouTube cosplayer to one of the most significant, like it or not, significant fictional, depictions in sci-fi-dom. That's pretty huge. But, and I'm really off topic today, and I don't think you guys mind. If you mind, you'll tell me, and I'll go back on topic. But if you look at it, you're going to find that the way they process that trilogy kind of bugged me. Rishi says being crazy is safer than sane. When you have the sense to, things have to make sense when you're sane, but when you're freaking nuts, you can look at purple flaming dragons waltzing down Main Street and you're like, nah, that's cool, and move on. Crazy like a fox, or foxy in this lady's case. Bum bum bum. They're not sponsoring me, and neither is Game Shady Stories. But sorry, I gotta make a Game Shady Stories crack every once in a while. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would not take the money. I have too much fun going Game Shady Stories. Foxy curtsies. Very prim and proper here. But rewinding a little bit. A lot of you are writers. A lot of the people who watch this show are writers. And I love the rule of cool. Don't get me wrong. But the rule of cool has limitations. And it needs to be appreciated. So if you know how fight should work and weapons work and things go, you can write, in my opinion, a much cooler scenario than if you don't. If you know what you're talking about, there's no suspension of disbelief. It just makes sense. So that's what you get when you're writing fantasy or comic books or video games. You can see the rule of cool done right. I can show you where extreme and a fight done right. Let's take two fighting concepts for a second. Oh, now I will say Rogue One. Rogue One was a fun movie, but you have to understand the first rule of Star Wars is the farther you get away from the main Star War, especially away from the Jedi as an active group, the better the stories get. That's why Hondo Ohnaka is probably the best character in Star Wars. I said it. I dropped it right there. Hondo Ohnaka, best character in Star Wars. And if he doesn't show up in Bad Batch or The Mandalorian or both, I'm going to be heartbroken. Because it's between him and Obi. And I would watch a Hondo Ohnaka Obi-Wan buddy movie right now. I would go to the theater and I would watch that. But they're not going to make it because it would be fun. And fun isn't profitable. It's not socially motivational, whatever you stand on it. Yes. Um, when I talk about Silver Ogre says form follows function. The most beautiful functional weapon is more beautiful than the most gem encrusted showpiece, in his humble opinion. And Ogre, I'm going to tell you right now, that is not a humble opinion. That is an educated, fact-based quality. That is quality, deductive, and inductive reasoning. That is the kind of forward thinking that can help make our nation great again. It's called common freaking sense. And the irony is it's not common. It is a superpower, and apparently you possess it. So, this is good. This is good. This is what we want, folks. And I'm saying, why? Why? Well, we're all going back into fighting, and one neat thing is to look at what we like. Now, someone asked me, my favorite fight, unarmed combat, my favorite boxing match, or sword, not sword fight. Sword fights get all out there. They asked me my favorite hand-to-hand that I've seen, and I said, "Oh, I have it. There's one fight I have absolutely loved every time I've seen it, and it's not the fight with Don Fry that I shared, although Gall is that a slobber knocker. I don't know where it was. The fight's top down, and you have a crowd around two guys. One guy is a capoeira fighter, and I will, before anything goes farther in this, the man was superb, gymnastic, elegant. He's doing flips and corkscrews through the air, and he's bouncing, and he's gaining momentum, and he's coming here, and he's gaining ground, and he's flying around, and the other guy is just standing there, like just classic. And he just the guy capoeira does a kind of almost summer cartwheeling back kick kind of thing, and as soon as he comes in, old boy just steps in and just one hit, just it's one of those where you slow motion because you can watch the beauty of an elegant punch. It starts at his foot and it just vibrates right up one leg, up through his whole body, just bam, nanosecond. But if you watch it slowly, the form is superb, and he hits the guy, and the guy just out, done. Favorite fight of all time, right there. Why? Because it was elegant and it was simple. It was refined. Now, this is not saying I don't appreciate the beauty in ornate martial arts. That would be both a lie and a fallacy. Because I am enamored with the grace and the beauty of martial artists. And that's not because she's hot or he's hot. It transcends. It's the control and the focus. And you'll see it in any art. When it's done right, it is exquisite. And I am an artist and a poet at heart. I will always be such. I can't help it. It's what I am. Beauty wounds me as hard as any knife, except I can't help but be drawn onto it. And I love it. And if you join the Historical Fencing Guild public group on Facebook, I share things along that line quite a bit. And I do that because it's gorgeous and it's inspirational. And the ones I pick are the ones where I can see not only are there a variety of motions, but I can see the reasoning. And that's something that doesn't get talked enough. The form of many martial arts, both Eastern and Western, it has been preserved in assorted manuals, styles, and people practice it. But many times they don't practice it understanding its function. My favorite thing is when I was watching somebody do Tai Chi, and I'm like, that is a heck of a sword style. And like the three people I was with went dead silent. They're like, what are you talking about? That's old man stretching. Like, part the wild horse's mane. If that's not pulling a Jin or a Dao, I don't know what is. And oh, hey, hop off to work, Froggy. Thank you for coming by. You are appreciated. Let's see. I got talking. Blade thesis. I agree wholeheartedly with Ogre. That's why people hated me on Nine Dragons, because I would be a higher level character but still use lower level weapons because they didn't look ridiculous. Excuse me. It's funny because utterly ridiculous weapons can work if the feel of the universe is there. But even then, I'm drawn to simpler lines. What do I mean? Okay, I stood out in the rain for 2 hours to be first in line to purchase a copy legally, because I refused to do a bootleg thing out of respect, of Final Fantasy Advent Children. Now, people who know me know the best sword fight of all time still has to be Wesley with Dread Pirate Roberts and Inigo on the cliffs. I mean, there's no discussing it, for sheer beautiful mastery of what fencing can be. That is what dreams are made of. And me, I love more aggressive stuff. I'll sit and watch Vigo do his thing with, popcorn and a smile, but and yeah, they do that. Well, you look at what they did in Advent. You look at Final Fantasy VII. All the mid weapons start to get looking really strange because it's expected. But Sephiroth's Masamune is just an Odachi on steroids. Perhaps Viagra. It's clean, efficient, and brutal. Utterly excessive, incredibly impractical, but still clean, efficient, and brutal. It's gorgeous. And when you watch the Sephiroth cloud fights in Advent Children is what the rule of cool should look like. Because every fight, for the most part, of main characters, Yuffie's attacks were kind of annoying. I'm not going to lie, but it's Yuffie. It's Yuffie. Let it go. But, bravo, Silver Ogre, for mentioning Agrippa, even though I'm not a big fan, because Agrippa's designed for people who are roughly 6 foot tall and long and lean. I am not left-handed. Something you don't know. They say he does not have an offhand. He is the Shire's most interesting man. Yeah, ambidextrousness, train ambidextrousness, guys. But you know what? I'm going to mention this. We're going to go back to somebody, and I said something, and I got a message about it I have to respond to, so I will try. When you're watching a same year, fuck, I am Ambi. When you're watching Advent Children, even the hand-to-hand Tifa fight in the churchyard, beautiful, utterly insane, utterly just like that is absolute bullhucky. Physics don't work that way, but at no point was it not cool, and it fit consistently. Two fights I love there. One of my favorite things to watch, ironically, is I love old kung fu movies. This should shock everyone. And I prefer the older kung fu movies to the newer ones. And, people ask me, why do you prefer the older ones to the newer ones? We're talking things like, oh boy, and I'm going to pull some real clunkers out. I could say Drunken Master. Of course I could say Drunken Master. So High is the dude. And Jackie is and will always be one of my heroes. But no. Let's throw out the guy with secret kung fu. Or the Dragon's Infernal Revenge. Oh my God, is that a good movie? Now, they have some cheesy silliness in there, but it works. But what I love about the old kung fu movies is before they had a lot of the special effects and the the wire fu wasn't as developed as it was. When they were doing something cool, it would be the blocks or a grab. So what you'd see is two people, and yeah, they'd have to add the, which is great. That should never stop. And then they'd zoom into like a crazy hand parry, or a really neat bar or something like that. I loved that. That was so cool. Oh yeah, Shaolin one arms. Okay, wow. Okay, Heroes of the East is a good one. Shaolin Mantis, yes. One arm. Come drink with me. Yeah. Oh, Dragon Dynasty, absolutely. Yes. And yes, absolutely. Thesis is right on. Two big hits. The Indigo fight in Princess Bride brought more people in of that generation than anything into fencing. The remake of Zorro brought a lot of people into fencing. Now, I grew up on the original black and white, like started with the crunky cereals, Zorro. Yeah. God, I can't remember what the actor's name. Edward something with that pencil mustache. Oh. But yeah, of course, that's why I'll always have something with a nice saber grip. You got fencing you got fencing from the 30s, but and that's one thing, they didn't have a lot of diagrams. I don't think I've seen that one. I'll have to think. I used to have a whole stack collection of it was like 50 of the worst kung fu movies ever made. I think I paid $5, and a buddy of mine swiped and pawned it because they were giving him so much money per disc, which was balderdash, but whatever. But yeah, I love that because it's inspirational, and I love the older stuff because they didn't have the newer stuff. Their tricks were they could show something in reverse like it was forward, which is funny, or just really good acting. And then you see it get more and more to wire fu, where you hit the post Matrix era, both peak in wire fu and just absolute drivel in a lot of sword fights. A lot of it took the disbelief to somewhere else. The fight was never grounded. And who doesn't love somebody running across the top of the bamboo sprigs, duking it out? But yes, yep, Shaw Brothers, but it's coming back, and there's some fairly modernish movies. Tai Chi Zero, Tai Chi Hero are great fun, and anything with Jackie Chan. If you throw Jackie Chan in it, it's going to be good. Operation Condor, thank you. But Rumble in the Bronx, Mr. Nice Guy. Oh. But yeah, Shaw Brothers of Gold, yes. Oh god. Now I want to do a kung fu movie night. But before I can do something like that, we've crossed the hour, so I want to thank everybody here. Take a minute to thank our community, which is the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Yes, folks, please donate money so I can afford, amongst other things, to replace this. But follow these wonderful people and check out what they're doing. Creative content made by innovative, independent thinkers. Boom. Well, something fell. Sure, it was dreadfully important. The Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, which are both written by yours truly, folks. I'm trying to do what I do with everything, which is take the arts I love and make them simple, accessible, and inexpensive. So please look up on Amazon and consider getting the Simple Sword, especially if you're new to sword fighting and you want a start point. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? A lot of people will lie to you, and they will say, I will turn you into the great master. The guys who basically talk like Master Ken of Amaradote, but aren't a parody. These guys are out there and they're preying on folks, and they're Western martial arts guys, and I detest that. It's gatekeeping, and I I will never stand in support of a bully-like behavior. You know, that's not what I'm about. And if that's what you're about, keep on walking. I don't hold any. I hold no animosity to those coerced into evil, but to those foul creatures who toy with the hearts and minds of men. Since the dawning of the age of time, we have been your destroyers. Oh God, I bungled the end of that spiel, and it just came out of nowhere. I should be ashamed, but that's okay. Anyway, if you want to support me further, I will be putting out the information Monday. It's coming out through Luke Stone, the Hybrids Kickstarter. If you couldn't get on the Indiegogo, some people don't like Indiegogo. This one's actually going to Kickstarter like proper. So look that up. A lot of gaming stuff is coming out of me in the near future. I'm doing some wonderful things. I have one other thing I have to plug. Wednesday nights at 8:30, we tend to start a little late. I am actually GMing an ongoing campaign on Red Valkyrie Presents on a television on a YouTube program called Dice Dudes and Dames, or Dice Dames and Dudes. Captain Dyslexia Strikes Again, where I'm running a module that I am writing as I work on it, that I will then, at the end of that, hopefully be able to publish. So I'm really excited about that. It's an intro to the world that I've been running for 30 years, and it's a good time. It is adult, in the language slips a bit, and some of the content can be colorful. So, the full system is between 85 and 95% done. On my end, that means basically next week for me will be a map making just blast. I'm going to be working my butt off making the maps and doing the incidentals. Then it will go for proofread. We'll recheck everything, and then it will be made pretty by Mr. Luke Stone, and then the full version will be out. It is coming very soon, and I am working on the sequel to the adventure in this for the folks who've played Storming the Gates of Hell Part 1, or watched me do a couple different live runs, one with Brian K. Morris and one with the good folks at Red Valkyrie Presents. So that is coming. Basically what happened is there's some people who have political arguments with Indiegogo, and they wanted to be able to support what we're doing. It is play tested. It should be running, but I will tell you what, I believe we are connected through Twitter, Silver Ogre. If I need play testers for it, for expanded stuff, I will definitely keep you in mind. I have a group, but I can always have somebody to look into, and I always take suggestions and requests. But there's a lot of good stuff coming. A lot of stuff I can't talk about right now just because of the nature of business and negotiations. But there's some really neat stuff with a couple really... Any different offered so I can buy cool new stuff. I know there's a digital. The only time the digital's going to be released is coming out that time, and I'm working to see if I can get some new content. I really am. We're going to see. If not, Steve, I will, trust me. This one is literally a test to see how things are going and if people want to work through Kickstarter. Because like I said, we got messages requesting it expressly, and it's for the more game-oriented. But Steve, you talk to me offline, you will be hooked up. You know that. Are very weird. And yes, very weird. So basically, I have two things you guys know about, one thing you don't know about in the works pretty much this month. So finishing up and creating 3 new games in 1 month is insane. And then other things maybe I'm hoping coming down the pipe. We'll see how it goes. And if not, no problem. I have total respect for the creators and such. But I'm chasing the dream. on that end. And that gets me important, and I could talk about, yeah, that's, some people asked, there's some projects I've had to neglect. Contract work comes first, and when I get paid up front by some folks, I have to, I'm a troubleshooter. Okay. We're going to talk about something. When I do something, and this is the honor that you develop in martial arts that transcends to other fields. Okay. I am a troubleshooter. I am, I'd consider myself a game mechanic. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we keep a high line of weirdness. But I build games. Actually, absolutely build bills before fun, but rep before bills. I would rather be shafted on a deal than shaft somebody else because I didn't do my job. And I would rather put in too much than not, half but something just to get the payday. Because to me, part of it is that's who I am. Okay. And when you're facing the martial arts, when you're facing any art, it is dedication, it is learning, it is honest assessment. And you have to be fair with yourselves. You have to do the right thing. And that's not popular anymore. Okay. We are, I hope we're seeing the death of the anti-hero, because I am so tired of grim, dark, grumpy folks, trying to justify being dicks. I'm just done with it. I have my beefs with Superman, but I love what he stands for. And Cap and I go, Captain America and I go way back. I still believe in some things, and they're not popular, but I'm going to do right. And when you're a freelancer in anything, Wolf, I'm pitting that, Richie. But when you're a freelancer in anything, the troubleshooter's job, you take the contract, you do the job. Because if you don't, no one will give you another contract. You do the job. And I'll be honest, I was working on the contract gig on my phone in the bathroom with a bucket in my hand, because that's who I am. I'm here when honestly I wouldn't mind being laid down or playing Minecraft with my family or just taking it easy because I don't feel terribly well. But I said I would do this as long as the pandemic was on and as long as I could. And the only time I'm planning to miss, at least for the foreseeable future, is a wedding of one of the guildies. But yeah. So, there are things that I just talk about that are philosophical. I had the nickname the philosopher that was meant to be an insult by a history prof, but don't hand me a black hat and not expect me to wear it. He always hated because I always would see both sides, and a lot of people now can't see both sides. I may disagree with something vehemently, passionately, but that doesn't affect my analysis of likely outcome. And in this era of politicizing, it that's not popular because people think you have somehow limited your dedication to a set of beliefs, or you're not towing party lines. I don't tow anybody's party lines. Issue by issue, stack them up, I'll knock them down. And if you disagree with me, that's your business. It's not my job to judge you, but I am allowed to say what I think. But Richie said Wolfwood is an anti-hero. I'm going to say no. Wolfwood is not an anti-hero. Wolfwood, and he's talking about Nicholas D. Wolfwood from the Trigun series. Wolfwood is a flawed hero. Wolfwood is trying to be something that he can never achieve, and in the end, almost fails. But depending on which version you see, uh, fails correctly. Wolfwood, there's a line he says, how can you be so clean? And he's trying to be Vash. And Wolfwood, in his limitations, can never see what it takes to be Vash. I've known some like that too. But he's trying. And there is nothing I love more than, I identify with the folks who are doing their best and they fail, in my youth, I absolutely adored the romantic belief that I want to live and die for a foolish notion that I truly believe in. A doomed cause. There's a beauty to that and a temptation that's kind of hard to explain if you don't get it. But if you get it, you get it, and that's okay. I'm a sucker for the underdog, and Wolfwood was in his way definitely the underdog. He could never be Vash. But without him, Vash couldn't have found a path of forgiveness. And we're referring to an anime called Trigun. And if it seems like I'm talking very deeply and emotionally about a goofy 90s anime, that's because I am. And that's something called good writing. So we'll get past that. Sorry if I dilly-dallied there. Gordon Ramsay as a potions instructor. I've read some fan fiction like that. It's fun. I dig it. I hope to feel better. I have been sick I've had profound symptoms for almost a week now, and it is taking its toll. But I'm starting to feel, it's like I'm coming out of it, but I'm feeling the burden of having to deal with it. So we'll see. Limitations slow me down. They pause me. They do not. They don't stop me. It's not goofy. Trigun is a religion. I wouldn't say it's a religion, but I would say that I have a Vash the Stampede wall scroll in my living room. And I have one downstairs next to my beautiful Vampire Hunter D wall scroll. And yeah, Vash is the kind of person, so, some of us aspire to be, but much like Wolfwood, we know we could never be that. Either from lack of strength or lack of capacity. And those are two different things. But go nail me to the wall, Silver Ogre. Yes, exactly. Here lies Dresden. He died doing the right thing. And that's why I can't stand the later books. I love Harry Dresden. I loved what he represented. But when they had him sell out to the Winter Court, I can't. And I know why. Jim Butcher wants to write sword and sorcery. He loves sword and sorcery, but his bread and butter and what he defines is urban fantasy. And that's a wonderful point to look into. This actually carries back over to Western martial arts. There has to be a realization what you enjoy, the styles you love to fight, may not be the ones you're most proficient in. And, there even with the same weapons, there are ways I fight to have fun versus ways I fight to win versus ways I fight to survive. And I've had people witness glimpses of one and want to see it all the time, not realizing, I could fight like that. I could fight that way every bout and win significantly more. But the price would be it wouldn't be enjoyable because it's a different mentality. And that goes into what your victory conditions are. And in some groups, it's education. Some groups, it's betterment. At that point, I learned what I was going to learn from the people around me. I mean, I was finding out what my limitations were. It was in internal. The processing was going on, but people hated because at that point I could imitate between 60 and 80% of anybody I fought, Taskmaster style, full stance moves, timing, whatever. It just, the limitations were my body and a few of my, my legs don't move the way they should, etc. But it wasn't fun necessarily. And at that point, I'd been fighting long enough, and I had gotten a lot of what I started out to get. And my priorities were shifting because I never was I want to win. Now, I will admit, I came in second in almost every turning out I ended up in. I never did officially come in first. Not sour grapes, but there were some people who refused hits. They refused to call shots, and that did happen. But that one does bug me. I will admit that to this day, that one bugs me a little bit. But I did my best, and I'm okay with that. We gotta, guys. You gotta pick your victory conditions, and you gotta always keep that in mind. I will tell you, being macho is rarely worth it. But and like I said, thank you guys for bearing with me. I know my energy level's a little low today. I've actually sweat completely through my little head wrap thing. But that happens. We're going to keep rolling. Find the inspiration, and that's where it gets important, okay? If you want to learn to fight like Drizzt and you want to do a wield, that can be done. There are 2 or 3 systems I can recommend. Some I'm not so good at, some I am. But if you turn out you're better with another weapon, you got to decide. Steve says victory is being able to go home after. That's a huge thing. That is a huge thing in most real world conflicts. I mean, I will let most people in most situations, look me in the face. I've been kicked. I've been spit at. Literally, I have been shot at and missed and pooped at and hit. And I haven't gone to jail yet. Because it's not about me. One thing, especially when you become a father and a husband, when you're a man, and this is old-fashioned, and maybe it's gender roles, maybe it's dated. It's certainly not anything I would inflict and demand of anyone else, but it is part of the code that makes me me. And there are rules. And you have to keep that in mind. Cindy Kemp says, I did better with a thing, sword, dagger, cloak in my other hand. Absolutely. I am, every day of the week, I would rather fight two-handed than single. Largely because if I were fighting unarmed, I better be able to grab or do something to them or the scenery. But I'm ambidextrous for a reason. Now, double dagger. Oh, God, double dagger is fun. Twin 17, 18-inch fencing swords, which most people would consider short swords. Oh, God, I love that stuff because it throws people's games off. My 34 and my 30. Boom, boom. Ta, 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 ta. Ting, 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 ting. This is cake and ice cream. I can make cloak go. Cloak is beautiful, but you want to talk? I win well with a shield. A proper buckler, I absolutely win well. It's not quite as fun for me most of the time because I see grabbing the shield is a little more serious. I did better with one sword in my dominant hand in most of my duels, and they were against people. Now, see, that's when we talk. You know what? Okay. Where did my how? On one side, I have found my buckler. On the other hand, whoops, Saugax. Can I reach with that? Bit heavy for reaching, but I gotta move my Doombeck and my buckler. Let's talk about this. I have promised you a buckler video, and by all that's good and right, I'm gonna give you something on that line, because Bladed Thesis makes a wonderful point, and I have very often beat people who were two-handed with me one-handed. Because a lot of times I switch hands. So me saying one-handed is a little not disingenuous, but could be read as deceptive. Where did that go? Okay. We got buckler. We got sword. Is that showing up okay? I'm going to go with a shorter one so I don't risk the ceiling fan. As much good as it is for things. So I'm going to go God, what's her name? Soul Calibur. Cassandra. There's another one. Anyway. Sword and buckler. Using the sword because it fits on the screen mostly, and you guys can track it. Bucklers are simple, okay? A buckler extended gives better coverage than in, right? You can't, this defends me. On an angle, it hits like this. This is awesome. A buckler can be used passively, parked, and fought around, or aggressively pairing, often in a cross-style defense. Or, of course, the Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, which is actually kind of George Silverian. I dig it. You will notice I reflexively use a buckler much more like a center boss. I angle it. That's because my wrists aren't often strong enough to keep it from spinning. But by angling it, I have a slightly better grip, and it gives me a more deflective tool. A buckler can be used independently, or especially with minimalist guards, combined to provide coverage. The problem is when you switch between. So, boom, I've done Captain Kabong has done a downward chop. Bam, right? I'll get punchy with it. I know. I haven't even seen the screen, but somebody's telling me, and you can punch with the buckler. Of course, but as soon as I do this should make any fence. Oh, wait, let me look. Let me see. Did somebody? Double dagger was amusing. I'm old, but I can do better. I don't know. A lot of people double wielding can't use the offhand thingy as a weapon. Every time I find a group potential sparring partners, life happens and I never see them. Life story, Silver Ogre. Life story. And a punchy. There it is. Almost word for word. One of these stories, I'm going to have to put a buckler in someone's hand and not neglect the mustachio and all. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. But, okay. I talk about something, and you don't hear it much in Western discussion, but it's all over Eastern discussion, and that's the middle road. A buckler is great when it's larger shield or it's well presented, and you keep it mobile. This is heavy, so it's stable, but it's tiring. And I will say, given my weakened condition currently, especially with the illness on top, I am feeling it today. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, because I'm going to be honest coming before you guys about what I can and can't do at any given moment. But, excuse me, as soon as this opens up, it's cake and ice cream. And you're going to find that with any two-weapon person, because when somebody is fighting single, I'm just going to grab another. I'm picking these because they are among my easiest to hold trainers. As soon as somebody's fighting single, high, and the lows are down there, but I can't really do it much. It's protected, and they're focused. They're doing one thing, they're doing it extraordinarily well. As soon as they do two, oftentimes this becomes a parrier, and I probably should grab the parry dagger that's over there, but it's over there, and I'm not feeling like juggling. Plus, I haven't waved the kukri around enough. I like the kukri because it reminds me it wants to chop. It wants to be aggressive. It wants to say, yeah, look, make me a parry device with hate. That's what the kukri says. It's a talkative little thing. It knows what it's about. Bam, bam, right? Oh, absolutely. And oh, Cindy, I love it. I love it. I love when somebody's both right and has read my book. Now, you'll note I'm using shorter weapons and I'm using 2 weapons of different length. Cindy gets into something that methodology helps fight a little bit, called planning your swords. But we're going to talk about that here. That I can stumble over myself. I can parry my own weapon. That happens a lot with longer parry weapons, especially if you're not trained in it. You have to flow, and you have to know what's going to happen. There are 2 schools. Many times, the offhand is the defensive device. Yes, I can cut you, but I'm going to spend most of my time going, no, 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 poke. No, 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 poke. No, 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 backwards. And anybody who's seen me fight, that's not exasperating. I either fight Golden Fiddler Crab and I back up like a crawdad. Nope, 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 nope. Boink, go away. But open. Now, excuse me. And this is picking weapons that fit. My left hand, while I'm ambidextrous, has preferences. Okay? Even though I can fight with both weapons, my left hand still prefers to cut and flow. My right hand still prefers to fence. So very often it's a saber mentality here and a rapier foil small sword here. Excuse me. I believe Steve's talking the Texas Ren Fair. There are good Ren Fairs, there are bad Ren Fairs. And yeah, look around. There are groups. Just be careful. Most of them have organizations that may or may not have ties, and you need to be careful getting who you get into bed with, because they can get kind of dominant in your life, again, if you're not careful. But boom, boom, boom. Now, it's funny because I am so aware of planing my blades, I tend to pick weapons that it would be very difficult to plane conceptually. Now, so what I'm going to do instead, and I'm still here. Yes, these are very short for it, but again, we're dealing with the screen. Matched, relatively straight weapons. Not straight, but relatively straight. These are the guys who are mostly straight, but still look at Chris Evans' butt, okay? God, I can't believe I said that. I'm going to get in trouble. That's okay. Now, oh no. I have these guys. I love these guys. They're great fun. They were donated by Steve. Bam, bam, bam. As you see, I'm already holding it, and from the side, they are at very different angles. In front, they're making a very clear A-frame. No, 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 no. But here, these are very strange geometry. Now, you watch people who don't know what they're so... Ha! And they get stabbed in the freaking face. Or, ha! They're doing that, and you guys just parry with the top of the screen up, catching both blades, knocking it up, hitting me with my own weapons, or pushing them aside. Anytime I see a double parry in like a superhero movie, my girl, I love Black Widow. I love Black Widow. But when she does that double parry because she's not strong enough to stop the blow, it hurts because it just leaves her so open for control. That you don't want this. You want this, and you're going to see, yeah, if a weapon is coming and I'm going to, like this, I can't stop the blow. Fine. I just want to persuade it not to hit me. You know, whoop. I'm drawing the blade off and keeping an attack free. Because if they get both and they are planed, so they are flat, they can get levered out of the way. You don't want that. I don't want that for you. So don't plane your swords. Now, it is okay to say this is my, a lot of people I know will like, this is my high line defense. This, and, maybe high attack. This is my low line defense because they're going to drop it to hip level, oftentimes a little out of the trackable motion. And you get a very classic where blocking weapon comes up, planes the opponent's weapons or the relevant one because they're coming transverse to make an opening to strike with the lower weapon. This is classic. This is how such weapons work. We could talk about pommel parries because they do occasionally have their place. It's not something I intentionally teach, but danged if I don't do it sometimes, and then people who fight with me long enough pick it up. That's catching with the bottom of the blade to keep the top one fully open once you've gained the advantage. That's okay. Don't plane your swords. And just think about it. I mean, they're flat. One could deflect them and leave the other to do bad things to you. We don't want that. Especially something like that against something like a hand axe. Because this can sweep and literally catch and tangle both. So a strong person, this is in my left hand, which is stronger due to damage, but a little less elegant. The axe catches their sword, both their swords, dramatically knocks it offline. And you get the pivot where it's going to pull the shot. And you'll notice there's a little bit, this is like throwing a right hook, okay? So in boxing, it's the equivalent of guard here. You catch, you rotate to block the shot, and force is still coming by, and this shot comes in and hits under the armpit, side of the neck, side of the chin. Right. Or, miss and bam, you have options. You have to be careful about being tangled up. So that's what we're looking for in blade control and dual wielding. But getting back to buckler, yes, in a real fight, buckler, pop to the nose. Ask what Uncle Steve would do. Either the Steve Rogers or Steve Clausen, both of them at some point are going to take a center boss and go, Doc. If you had a short window and could only use okay, let me see. If you had a short window and could only use one, which would you use, axe or whip? Oh, what do you mean by short window? I need to. I'm not sure what you mean by short window. Like I had to grab a particular weapon. Which would I use? That really. Whew. See, it's funny. If I said, and I'm honest, proximity. What I'm going to use is the first edged weapon that is in hand, which at this moment would look something like this. Oh, you were in one-on-one duel and had to grab one quickly. One-on-one duel, probably grab the rapier first. The problem is, like I said, I'm ambi, so the odds of me not getting a second weapon are highly unlikely. And there's a lot of what kind of axe feeling. But like I said, in the end, it would be whatever's closest. You use your knife to get to your pistol, use your pistol to get to your rifle kind of logic. And yeah, I use what I have handy. Although people who know me know I will use what is handy before the superior weapon a lot of times. If I'm going for example, if I'm going for the rapier, I might just be grabbing and punting the axe at them, or more likely a piece of scenery. Guys, I fight like the Sith, okay? I'm gonna throw, when I teach Western martial arts, okay, when I teach what we do, there's a matter of discipline and honor and control and yada yada. When it comes to real world fighting, if I cannot escape, and I will take every option I can, they are both sitting on a table equal distance from you, and there are archers above you to make sure you only grab one weapon. I probably would grab the rapier because it has more reach. But like I said, it really depends. When I say it depends on closeness, I'm not going to be a conscious entity. I love these kind of questions. Yes, if you're in a fair fight, your tactics suck. One of the best fictional instructors is Splinter from the 2012 Ninja Turtles, when he looked like a tall, upright Japanese rat. That he has a whole shtick about the fight wasn't fair. Was it fair? No. Did you win? Yes. That's getting a lot closer. Grab both as I slide under the table. I'm more likely to slide under the table first and improvise from there, believe it or not. Because the archers bother me. But that's you have to understand when stuff goes weird around me. Steve, you're here. You can pipe in. When stuff goes weird, what comes out of me tactics deployment wise, the brain isn't involved. The thinking brain doesn't have time to be involved. And if you've seen me react to jumps, sometimes it's silly because I will grab whatever is present. I actually, for my live students, I do a whole section. And see, I'm looking at it because for me, a lot of it depends on the rapier, the definition of the rapier. Because if the rapier looks like the balance is wrong or the guard is too open, I might not grab it because it might be a detriment, even though it's closer to one of my primary styles. It's a really hard thing. But yeah, honestly, God's honest truth, I'm more likely to throw my chair at him. I'm more likely to throw my chair at him, go under the table, and bump it. I'm not kidding. I going for the obvious this or this. I pick my own victory conditions. Now, fighting, would I choose axe or rapier? Vast majority of the time, if it's a rapier that fits me, yeah. So, I mean, if it was a live steel version of something like this, especially this, I'm going to grab this because it is an extension of my arm. I am intimately acquainted with it. But it also depends where I am. Reach, the gears that spin will I be able to use it in the room? It's interesting. It is interesting, and that's why I'm not good with gut things, because the definition of the words, well, you think about, okay, an axe. This is an axe. This could be considered an axe. Radically different. My hand axe, my felling axes, very different. Yep. Silver's got it. I've been a DM for some of the most insane, rowdy, ruthless people ever to walk the earth. My mind is flexible, and I also really like staying alive. Tactical awareness. I affectionately say applied cowardice because I like to be self detrimental, oh. Anyway, I'll poke fun at myself, but yeah, I've been in a lot of situations that have involved me and tables. Tables are my friend. I like to get under them. I like to, yeah, flaming dis. Y'all think he's joking about the flaming displacer beast cannon. He is not. There was a flaming displacer beast cannon. Oh yeah, yeah. Steve says nothing wrong with being hard to kill. There's a term. Yeah, that's why I saved the Earth, because I'm one of the a-holes who live here. Yeah. The disgraceful dodge is something that was taken from, I want to say Big Eyes, Small Mouth. It's in the Trigun RPG. You'll find it in different places. But the idea is I can make a lot of getting out of the way. At least I could. I used to. Now mobility is an issue. But I'm not a monk. I'm a friar, dang it. But yeah. You're not my first pick for under the table. Sorry. Oh, Steve, you're not mine either. But no, man, I like round tables. I've learned the art of leaving a place via the round table as a rolling shield. And and that's okay. Give me 3 steps, Mister. If that's my theme song, I'm okay with that too. It's just these are very broad. It's fun. I love mental exercises. And the fact that I'm thinking about it this much says I've actually processed it. A lot of people say, I grabbed the rapier because it's my father's style. I don't. You guys, you haven't been through when I'm teaching my class, a lot of you. And when I talk about the mentality, everything's a weapon. Everything's a weapon. The light coming in the window, the dust on the stairs, the chair you're sitting on, the band that holds your underwear up, everything can be a weapon. It's all about keeping mentally flexible. You just, victory conditions are strange and beautiful and bizarre. And I'm honored and privileged. What? No, no, no. Will you stop that? Sorry, we almost had that. Oil of impact under the avatar of Loth, the beat. Yeah, oil of impact, explosive. My preferred solution is that about the time the archers are drawing on me, my boys and girls are behind the archers, subtly putting them down. So, preparation is my preferred answer. Ooh, I got a ping. Who is pinging me? Who is pinging me? Yes. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've known quite a few ladies to know quite a few such instances where a lady flashed somebody, and that broke the mind. Charm by dazzling boob to get folks out of there. Usually, though, my mouth. I have talked my way out of things and looked back. I didn't think of myself as a bard. I don't usually, but then I've talked to people who've been around me when stuff's gone wrong. And every once in a while, the running joke is I can sell ice to an Eskimo. And I'm not being derogatory. That's not meant derogatory. It's just an old adage. But yeah, absolutely, man. I would rather talk my way out of just about anything. I mean, you're talking to the guy who talked his way out of having the store he was working at robbed. If I can get a verbal hold, that's what I'm going to use. Because I can always go for violence later, but once you go for violence, you don't have any other options. And I don't like being limited. Oh, no. Richard asked, but everything I need to know about getting out of a fight I learned from Peter Parker, be it a smart A until they laugh or stop or get distracted, and you can sucker punch and run. I have been there. I have done my dance of the raw crawling rebel, hauling butt and taking names for the purpose of survival. And sometimes you can run and sometimes you can't. But that's why I got better at talking. My hand's not going to hurt after I talk to somebody, you know? No, literally, I have done up, over, and through. Richie, you never met me when I was young and spry. Now, several of the beatings that I took when I wasn't successful are why I'm the way today. And that's the problem. I know a lot of people who talk about fights. Yes, Foxy. From what I can glean from your Facebook profile imagery, you indeed have boobs of distraction. I have no doubt that they would be very distracting. But a lot of people, they've never been in a real fight as an adult. And they've never dealt with people with truly malicious intent. And I've dealt with people with malicious intent. I've dealt with people with killer intent. And always a civilian, because that's what I'm. I'm a fat civilian. I don't punch it. And I have dealt with things unarmed. I've dealt with things improvised armed. I've dealt with things armed. My crazy dumb butt got into a gunfight, brought a knife to a gunfight and won. And nobody died. But yeah, everybody, yeah. And like, and I don't mean just a punch. I mean, until you've been beaten to the point you are at their mercy, you don't understand. And I have been on the ground, bloodied and broken and battered. And it taught me a lot. And that's part of why I teach and why I fight the way I do. And see that, and I think that's why I find the heroism in people who have survived stuff that others call victims drives me nuts. Some people who survive are victims. They have lost something, and maybe they can get it back, and maybe they're not. Some are survivors, and some are victims no more. And if I can help somebody around that line just get a little more power, a little more sure of themselves, and maybe get in a position to never again, I'm doing my job. That's what I'm all about, folks. That's I learned from Rodney Dangerfield. Last night I broke my arm in 3 places. Don't go to those places. Yeah, whew. Yeah, that's why we study. And that's why I teach and preach and expound. I'll teach you how to sword fight all day. I'll teach you the basics of tactical awareness, situational awareness. I'm good at that. Uh but I don't want to teach people to be what they need to be to look for it, because if you look for it, you will lose. And But the survivors I know, they're heroes. I know people who've come before me and they were learning to fight and they were so scared you couldn't raise their voice while they were in the field. Like we were having practices in a large gymnasium type of thing, a dance studio or some such drivel. And if any man raised their voice with any degree of anger for or gusto, she'd be half out the door. Most people didn't even notice her. That girl had the best no-see-um field I've ever seen. But then I got to see her learn and get better and fight and get that power, and I love it. I love seeing people take back their personal sovereignty, their personal confidence. And I'm not talking legal crud. I'm not talking machismo. I'm talking the ability to be yourself. And it is possible to study Western martial arts and Eastern, but I got to go with where my home is on this. And you can carve a new world and a new self out with a training sword. I've done it before, and I'm trying to get healthy enough to get in shape. I'm hoping I can do it at least one more time. And if I can't, if my body won't let me, and that's the truth, I've known I'm on borrowed time for physicality. I've known it for a very long time. So then I will keep doing what I can. And those who can do, those who can't teach. Hey, brother, you try teaching sometime. That's one thing I tell. I know so many people who are martial artists. Sword Sage, Steve, Richie, my buddy John, who I'm surprised he's not here tonight, John Miner. Heck, Cindy. I don't know if Bladed Thesis, if Thesis has written a book yet, but they know. They've learned. And I always ask people, if you know your art and you've developed an art, because you have, there's a duty to record it somehow. Write a book, take notes, publish it. Don't expect to make money because it's not about that. Get your stuff out there. Yeah, you're right. Foxy, teaching can be hard. Hey, there's nothing wrong with Ogre says self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-respect, self-confidence, and a little enlightened self-interest. Absolutely. But never self-worship. There are two things that we as a nation, and I'm really philosophical tonight, that happens when I don't feel well, we stumble into. And one is the worship of youth. If you look at media, if you look at especially advertising, watch it. There is a worship of the young people, a worship of unjaded, untapped potential. And I love potential, but it is part of it. That respecting what potential is should never lose sight of the respect of experience. These are two halves of the same coin. And I'm going to tell you, not to be religious, I don't care who, he, she, it, they, you may or may not worship. Even if you're a devout scientist who believes that there's no higher power spiritually than you, understanding that simple science is more powerful than you, understanding that you are not the greatest power on this earth. And that sounds shocking, but there are people who don't. They don't get that the universe doesn't truly revolve around them, that it's not about them. And they just suffocate on their own BS. And see, here's the thing. Thesis, that's a trap. Being far too critical of my own skill and ability. I'll show you something. See, this 15 years plus went into writing this book. What do you see on here that matters? My name? Not really. The name of the book? Kinda. The Historical Fencing Guild's Manual of Defense. Well, that says what it is. Cool. This is what's important right here. Volume 1. You know, if you because that's this is volume 2. If there's something that isn't in it that needs to be, you add it. If you learn something better and it takes away, you deduct from it. You do a second edition. But and danged as I'm thinking it, Cindy Kep, who is a genius, flat out says you can edit stuff to make it better. You can't edit a blank page. Do you know what the burden of sentience is? Sentience is living with the understanding that we have a finite amount of time. I will only be on this earth so long. Something's coming, Ogre. When I'm all done with that whole thing, something special is going to come when all the books are written and the formats are how I want it. Mozart didn't make things beautiful the first time. It took labor and the art of understanding that. So do it. Write what you know as you know it now. And if you look back in age and go, wow, I was mistaken, you have put a road mark on your journey to better enlightenment. That's important. And what's really important is maybe you'll get better and you'll transcend and you'll find a better way. Maybe you'll step out on the street and get hit by a seed truck, Final Destination style. You don't know. But the work is more important than the worker. Gotta be careful. I don't want to shake my thing. Building my purpose with this was not, look at me, I'm awesome. It wasn't an ego trip. I mean, I did pick one of the sexiest pictures of me ever. Whoa, young and beautiful. But hey, how was his cooking? Nobody gets points in everything. That whole Mozart, he could recreate things from age 3. But he was like a genius, and it makes less of maybe musically. How was his cooking? How was his palate? Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and nobody gets all the points. And I'm going to tell you, when it looks like somebody has all the points, they're beautiful, they're brilliant, they're talented in everything they touch. Watch it, because people like that almost always live short lives. They burn out. Everybody has a different measure. I'm a generalist. I do a lot of things functionally. A factotum, if you will. Don't let your... There will always be greater and lesser people than you, okay? Yeah, the problem is people hide behind it. They say, I'm not a genius, so why try? Because your voice is important. Their voice is important. It is so easy to find justification and reason to see a problem, to whine about a problem, and not move forward to say, I can't. I can't is easy, but it's a 4-letter word for a reason. When people hide behind the, I can't do it, I might fail. Okay? Your story is yours. No one else can write it. Your viewpoint, no one else can describe it. They might do something that resonates, that synchronizes for a moment, but they can never truly say your take on what you've learned and done. And if somebody picks up your book and goes, this is all drivel, but one sentence, guess what? That sentence was important. Or maybe it contradicts somebody who's saying something worse. You can't do that. So many people, and it drives me nuts. Well, I'll do it later. I'll do it when I'm stronger. I'll do it when I'm richer. I'll do it when I'm powerful. I'll do it when I'm not working so hard, when I'm not so tired. I'll do it later. I'll try. And you know what? They die, and it gets undone, and their story dies with them. Now, maybe it's in the afterlife somewhere. I certainly hope so. Maybe through the cosmos, the energy radiates. I want to believe that. But we have an obligation to the people on this earth. I am a Christian. I've never doubted that. I've never questioned that. That's what I am. But one of the most important philosophers was an ethical atheist by the name of Marcus Aurelius. He was kind of a big deal. And he said, I rise to do the work of man. Why? Why? Because he believed in atheism. He believed you live and then you die. You come from a void you don't remember, you go into it. If that's it, if it's point A to point B, then we have an even more powerful obligation to make the way smooth for those who come after us, to give something back instead of take something away. And one of the most important things as a historian, as a creator, as a survivor of things, guys, you have to tell your truth, because the world is full of lying vipers who, if you don't tell your truth, if you don't try, they will tell your truth for you, and they will lie to profit themselves. And it's disgusting, and it's amoral, and it's wrong. But folks, that will happen. And if you spent years or months or weeks, write a freaking journal. Jot it down. Do something with the knowledge and perspective you have, because it just might help somebody, even if it's just you in the future, even if it's just you in the moment. Write it down. When you experience something, I know veterans who've experienced war, and they won't talk about it, and I understand why, as much as any civilian can. But if they don't talk about it, the people who weren't there will lie and tell what's convenient or popular or profitable because they lack honor. So yeah, when I meet somebody like Sword Sage, I've known Sword Sage for years, like John Miner. John Miner is really good at what he does when he can do what he's supposed to do. I tell him, write it down. Write it down. And he is. I hope he's finishing it. Thesis, write what you're doing down. And if you can't, teach people who will. If you can't be Plato, if you can't be Socrates, be Plato and find a Socrates. If you can't write it yourself, if you can't dictate it, find a trusted listener, because that's a valid thing too. Being a receiver is a valid thing. We are in a conversation. So yes, broadcasting what you think, what you believe, what you know is important, and I praise it. But receiving and learning and internalizing and processing with discernment and pursuing wisdom, that is a valid thing. It is an important thing. Foxy said, am I the best artist? Hardly, but I still do it because it's fun. Amateur, the term amateur, which is used as a slur these days. Excuse me. Ooh. May have gotten a little too passionate for my stomach. But comes from the Latin word for love. They're doing it out of love, not profit. Profit is important, and I'm not gonna lie. Making the bank is necessary. And if you're really good at something, you shouldn't do it for free. But what you choose to take in payment is up to you. But you don't have to beat anybody. You just do it. Draw poorly, sing off key, fight not as good as everybody else. Come in second in every tourney, Yanner. Because you love it. Because it matters. Because you matter. So yeah, keep trying, keep doing. And poor Richie has seen this come out of me. I love Richie, brother. I love you because you always get Brother Loves Travel and Salvation show. Hallelujah to come screaming out of me because you just know how to do what you love because you love it. And love is an entity. Love is a force. Love is a radiant, transfixing, transmutive thing. It just is, and it projects in so many ways, and it's needed. It is a light in the darkness of chaos and depression and the void of empty space that this little blue marble is sailing through at incomparable speeds. What keeps it going? Love. Yeah, and when you make something for somebody, she says, Foxy says, I make art, I make jewelry. I don't do them for profit. I do them out of love for the people I care about. You're doing it for two profits, my dear. I hate to disagree with you because you are twice blessed. Twice blessed when you do something like that. You are blessed in the joy of the creation. You are blessed in the feeling and the interaction of using your will and skills to shape something tangible. Folks, that's magic. And then you are blessed in the experience of the giving, of seeing how it changes somebody, of seeing a bit of light in somebody's soul first, of that karmic ping. Art is how we decorate space and matter. Music is how we decorate time. Ogre says, I don't want to go yet, but I got to check in with some other friends tonight also. Ogre, I'm actually 12 minutes over, and I'm fading fast too, so don't you worry. Thank you for coming out, my friend. Hope to see you Wednesday night on RV Presents Red Valkyrie Presents on YouTube, where I'll be doing episode 3 officially, because we had episode 0 where we set of Dice Dudes and Dames. But yeah, Richie. I make people laugh and smile for pure greedy reasons. Makes me laugh and smile too. Yeah. Man, ring the bell because you like the music. Hey, every week I try, and it took me a while to get the fire stoked tonight, but I think we really got it. And I do need to be signing off myself, so actually thank you for the reminder. Guys, I know I get off topic, and maybe that's not what the guild advertises. Maybe that's not what it's about, but maybe that's what things need to be. So, so yeah, this world's made of love and peace, man. Peace and love and peace. If you like what you're doing, first off, if you haven't, please hit the like button. Please share this if you think it has any value to anyone you'd know or love or dislike, whatever. Please subscribe if you haven't. I do this every week, and I'm planning more content. I'm fighting the good fight with the health and some other things. Mine is never an easy road, but it's a noble one, I think. I'm brought to you, of course, by Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, the quick play version of the role playing game, and the eventual full role playing game, a chance where you can be the superheroes you've always wanted to be without the rules being excessive or bulky or just annoying. Gaming like it should be: fun, fast, and easy. Of course, the simple sword and the fighting axe, both, my testaments on how my thoughts on Western martial arts, and a little bit of philosophy. I tend to ninja that in. I also have a lot of books, sci-fi books in the Big Stompy Robots line, if you want some fun with mecha warfare and explosions and what have you. I'm a proud member of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network, who, there are many more shows than on this battered list, but, take a screenshot if you haven't. And look up the fine folks. I can be found occasionally on Stupid O'Clock with Joe Dog McKeel, the Skunk Rocker, Lewis Lee Blake, and John Scarborough and Dan Hallfield. And occasionally Last Man Standing. I'm here every week, Fridays nights. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, at least it was amusing. Small Arms was meant to be fun. Both of them are. I like being in different worlds. Small Arms is a story of a man in the a man with his day off in the wrong place at the right time, and unimaginable series of events leading up to a little bit of body horror, some incredible contact, and just trying to help a girl do the right thing. This is made possible by my patrons, guys. The www.patreon.com/the Historical Fencing Guild. If you can give even $1 a month, it helps me keep the lights on. It keeps me in caffeinated beverages. My voice is cutting out. Lets me buy trainers so I can review them, use them to teach techniques. And people who know me know occasionally the trainers tend to go to homes that need them. It's one of those strange little things that happens. Brother Love's Travel and Salvation show got loose today, huh? That's okay. I think it was needed. Be good to each other, okay? I hope so too. I'm still quite sick. I tried to rein it in, but I am a man of no small passion, and when it gets on certain subjects, it's like a fever, and I just have to go through it. But thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for talking, and be kind to yourselves. Be good to each other, okay? And as always, support your local sword master.